Okay, so here we go. Another day, another market overview. Bitcoin, Link, Ethereum. We're going to keep it simple to the point. We're also going to take a quick look at the VIX because it's given us a bit more volatility. And with that in mind, this increasing stability in our entire ecosystem during that volatility, I think is a prime indicator that demand has overtaken supply, and we get to start seeing the pure and raw beauty of a bull market come in over the next few months. Now, with that in mind, let's dive right in. Okay, so here we are on the daily on Bitcoin, my favorite place to start for one reason only. I like to keep as broad and as a macro perspective picture in my mind every step of the way so that I don't get caught up in the minutia. When you're looking at the 1 minute chart and it drops $30, it looks significant, as in comparison when you're on the daily, you're like, oh, look at this is beautiful. So I remind myself we went through a buying climax and a selling climax, and we've started accumulation. We are in phase D of the Wyckoff accumulation area, and as you can see here, as we zoom in, especially on the 4 hour, you can see that we are just out of the second top, or the third regression line now, and moving on our way to the top. Now, I've said a few times already, and I stick by this assertion, that this particular movement into this SOS phase will probably bring us somewhere maybe around $15,000 at a hypodermic top, something like this as you see on the screen, before coming back down, retesting the $12,000 area, creating a reaccumulation box, and then the full bull market starting somewhere out near springtime. Now, if you do your study, for all of you that do, you can well, you'll find out that there are many great traders like Hoyle, Livermore, Wyckoff, and a bunch of other big players who are taking into account what's going on in the seasons as part of the market. The spring to the fall has specifically been part of these market cycle moves somewhat frequently, enough that you could apparently place a bet on September 22nd and go short at that moment every time and come out 100% successful. So, here we are now with this future vision in mind, and what does this tell us? This tells us the same thing we've known since March, that the bull market has started, and it's only a matter of time until we start to see the full weight of this cycle come into play, and I think springtime is a great time to be aiming at, and the SOS here in Bitcoin is really proving out to fit that timeline perfectly. So if I drop in and I take a look at Ethereum here, on the 4 hour here already, you can see as we've gone over, I'm going to just reiterate this though, because it's always helpful to go over it once or twice for everybody, myself included. Same thing with Bitcoin. Here we had a reaccumulation zone, which is what we were going through, but it's a rising gradient channel on Bitcoin. And then we saw a big move out of the box on Ethereum for the SOS, followed by this kind of weaker reaccumulation pattern that we are in now. The first SOS outside of the box and then the second LPS. And as you can see, it just touched on the 4 hour the top of our box before moving up. This is what we had indicated we would likely see, and luckily it did that beautifully, and you can see our VPVR line here is very, very strong along this center point as well. So could we go lower? Yes, we could actually come back to the middle of the box here around $359 if something were to go abstract in the markets, although I'm not really counting on that happening at this moment because the volatility index is high and the volatility in our market is not, which is a big indicator, I think. So jumping over to Link here as well, another beautiful formation of an accumulation range with your first SOS, followed by your kind of LPS inside the box. Now, Link actually may come down here a little lower because we do have a very strong VPVR support here, right where I drew this green line. Right at around $10.79. Now, will that happen exactly? I'm not sure, but we did create our first SOS and then LPS, and we've started to recover from that today. And you can kind of see it a bit more clearly on the 15-minute that there was actually a fair amount of strength from this recovery. We had a little bit of a double bottom on the 15-minute, just like this, and we printed around a 3% high, or a 3% gain. Yeah, wow, 6% gain on that one, pretty much. That's a huge move for Chainlink. I mean, effectively 6% is a big move for anyone that's playing in these markets. Please remember that. Like, if you have $1 million and it goes up 6%, you're feeling pretty happy about that. Okay, so lastly, I want to finish off with the VIX today. The reason we do this, ladies and gentlemen, is the VIX is our volatility index for the S&P 500. Now, we are in the tech sector, and the S&P 500 is mostly made up of tech-like businesses. So I use it as a volatility measure for our entire ecosystem. Even though we're not the S&P 500, I think it is relevant to us because of the tech nature and the overall emotional attitude of those tech investors in this sector to begin with. So we actually jumped up another 3% today, and on the 1 hour you can see that's kind of peaking into previous highs back from the area where we were having, okay, so here, let's kind of circle these out here. Here's the pandemic in March. Here's the kind of June riot area, this kind of weird circle spot, and here's where we are now. So we can see that the elections, as we move closer, are starting to really peak out the uncertainty and the instability in the markets. The fact that we've stayed this strong in the markets for this long with all of this volatility, I think is a big indicator that yes, demand is overtaking supply and the bull market is on its way to starting. Now, I have said this multiple times, the bull market started in March. If you know anything about Wyckoff analysis and the idea of buy while the blood is in the streets, that's actually when the bull market starts, is right at the bottom of the spring, and it's continued for the last 6 months. Now, this backup phase and after the SOS is quite boring. I think I said in September, at the beginning of September, maybe 90 to 120 days of kind of boring, sideways, choppy markets. That's what we've been through. But the future is not that far away. We're talking about maybe 30 to 60 days until we see like clear indicators that everyone is in this market, that the bull is about to begin. And that is a hugely positive indicator. Anyways, I'm going to leave it at that, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys all for joining us. I really appreciate all the support, the kind comments. I'm obviously here in San Jose, as you could tell by our little cool drone intro. I'm going to start doing more kind of how-to videos as well as vlogs just to entertain myself. So if you have any ideas of what you would like to see me go over of how to, maybe even from tying your shoe to trading futures, leverage or margin on Binance, whatever it might be, let me know in the comments section down below, and I will do my best to help create as much educational content for you as possible. Thank you guys all for the support along this journey. This is Stu with the Arcane Bear. I'm signing off for the rest of the day. Hey, and here I go. No, I lied. I'm back.